leaning to one side. I was afraid it was going to fall. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarada Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Good morning, devotees. My name is Manjari Gopika Devi Dasi, and today we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, verses 21 through 27, focusing on the combined verses of 21-22. I ask for your blessings that I may speak something pleasing to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, to all the devotees. Let us begin by together chanting the invocation prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarvasvatim vyasyam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, we'll begin our reading now, starting, Canto 5, Chapter 5, starting at verse 21, and then we'll go through 27. Who would like to begin? Prabhu?
Of the two energies manifest, spirit and dull matter, beings possessing living force, vegetable, grass, trees, and plants are superior to dull matter, stone, earth, etc. Superior to non-moving plants and vegetables are worms and snakes, which can move. Superior to worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvikas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Daksha, and superior and supreme among Brahma's son is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior, but Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I am inclined to the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are best of all.
O respectful Brahmanas, as far as I am concerned, no one is equal or superior to the Brahmanas in this world. I do not find anyone comparable to them. When people know my motive after performing rituals according to the Vedic principles, they offer food to me with faith and love through the mouth of a Brahmana. When food is thus offered unto me, I eat it with full satisfaction. Indeed, I derive more pleasure from food offered in that way than from the food offered in the sacrificial fire.
The Vedas are my eternal transcendental sound incarnation. Therefore, the Vedas are Sabda Brahma. In this world, the Brahmanas thoroughly study all the Vedas, and because they assimilate the Vedic conclusions, they are also to be considered the Vedas personified. The Brahmanas are situated in the supreme transcendental mode of nature, Sattva Guna. Because of this, they are fixed in mind control, Sama, sense control, Dhamma, and truthfulness, Satya. They describe the Vedas in their original sense, and out of mercy, Anugraha. They preach the purpose of the Vedas to all conditioned souls. They practice penance, tapasya, and tolerance, titiksa, and they realize the position of the living entity in the Supreme Lord, Anubhava. These are the 8 qualifications of the Brahmanas. Therefore, among all living entities, no one is superior to the Brahmanas.
I am fully opulent, almighty, and superior to Lord Brahma and Indra, the king of the heavenly planets. I am also bestower of all happiness, obtained in the heavenly kingdom and by liberation. Nonetheless, the Brahmanas do not seek material comforts from me. They are very pure and do not want to possess anything. They simply engage in my devotional service. What is the need of their asking for material benefits from anyone else?
My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity, be he moving or non moving. Knowing that I am situated in them, you should offer respect to all of them at every moment. In this way, you offer respect to me.
The true activity of the sense organs, mind, sight, words, and all the knowledge, gathering and working senses, is to engage fully in my service. Unless the senses are thus engaged, a living entity cannot think of getting out of the great entanglement of material existence, which is exactly like Yamaraja's stringent rope.
'27. We just finished. Okay. So we'll return to the combined verse of 21:22, which is our focus verse for today. So in the interest of time, because we have quite a substantial purport to hear from, we'll chant the Sanskrit, call and response just one time, and then we'll proceed to the synonyms and purport. Bhuteshu virubhya udu tamaye. Bhuteshu virubhya udu tamaye. Sari sri pasteshu sabdo nishta. Tato manusya pramatas tatopi. Gandharva siddha vibhudanugaye. Gandharva siddha vibhudanugaye. Deva surebhyo magavat pradana. Daksha dayo brahma sutastutesham. Bhava paraso tavinricha virya. Samat paroham dvija deva deva. Let's do the synonyms together. Bhuteshu, among things generated with and without symptoms of life. Virubhya, then the plants. Uduttama, far superior. Yea, those who. Sarisripa, moving entities like worms and snakes. Teshu, of them. Sabodha nishta, those who have developed intelligence. Tata, then them. Manushya, the human beings. Pramata, the ghostly spirits. Tata api, better than them. Gandharva, the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, appointed singers in the planets of the demigods. Siddha, the inhabitants of Siddha Loka, who have all mystic powers. Vibhuddha Anugaha, the Kanaras. Yea, those who. Deva, the demigods. Asurepya, then the Asuras. Magavat Pradanaha, headed by Indra. Daksha Adaya, beginning with Daksha. Brahma Sutta, the direct sons of Brahma. Two, then. Tesham, of them. Bhavaha, Lord Shiva. Para, the best. Sa, he, Lord Shiva. Ata, moreover. Virincha Virya, producing from Lord Brahma. Sa, he, Brahma. Matpara, my devotee. Aham, I. Dvija Deva Deva, a worshipper of the Brahmanas, or the Lord of the Brahmanas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Of the two energies manifest, spirit and dull matter, beings possessing living force, vegetables, grass, trees, and plants, are superior to dull matter, stone, earth, etc. Superior to non-moving plants and vegetables are worms and snakes, which can move. Superior to worms and snakes are animals that have developed intelligence. Superior to animals are human beings, and superior to human beings are ghosts because they have no material bodies. Superior to ghosts are the Gandharvas, and superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to the Siddhas are the Kinnaras, and superior to them are the Asuras. Superior to the Asuras are the demigods, and of the demigods, Indra, the king of heaven, is supreme. Superior to Indra are the direct sons of Lord Brahma, sons like King Daksha, and supreme among Brahma's sons is Lord Shiva. Since Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. But Brahma is also subordinate to me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because I am inclined to the Brahmanas are the best of all. Purport. In this verse, the Brahmanas are given a position superior to that of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that the government should be conducted under the guidance of the Brahmanas. Although Rishabhadev recommended his eldest son Bharat as emperor of the earth, he still had to follow the instructions of the Brahmanas in order to govern the world perfectly. The Lord is worshipped as Brahmanya Dev. The Lord is very fond of devotees, or Brahmanas. This does not refer to so-called caste Brahmanas, but to qualified Brahmanas. A Brahmana should be qualified with the 8 qualities mentioned in text 24, such as Shama, Dhamma, Satya, and Titiksha. The Brahmanas should always be worshipped, and under their guidance, the ruler should discharge his duty and rule the citizens. Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, the executive is not selected by very intelligent people, nor is he guided by qualified Brahmanas. Consequently, chaos results. The mass of people should be educated in Krishna consciousness so that according to the democratic process, they can select a first-class devotee like Bharat Maharaj to head the government. If the head of the state is headed by qualified Brahmanas, everything is completely perfect. In this verse, the evolutionary process is indirectly mentioned. The modern theory that life evolves from matter is to some extent supported in this verse because it is stated, Bhuteshu Virubhya. That is, the living entities evolve from vegetables, grass, plants, and trees, which are superior to dull matter. In other words, matter also has the potency to manifest living entities in the form of vegetables. In this sense, life comes out of matter, but matter also comes out of life. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. There are 2 energies, material and spiritual, and both originally come from Krishna. Krishna is the supreme living being. Although it may be said that in the material world a living force is generated from matter, it must be admitted that originally matter is generated from the supreme living being. Nityo Nitanam Chaitanas Chaitanam, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. The conclusion is that everything, both material and spiritual, is generated from the supreme being. From the evolutionary point of view, perfection is reached when the living entity attains the platform of a Brahmana. A Brahmana is a worshipper of the Supreme Brahman, and the Supreme Brahman worships the Brahmana. In other words, the devotee is subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and the Lord is inclined to see to the satisfaction of his devotee. A Brahmana is called Dvija Dev, and the Lord is called Dvija Deva Deva. He is the Lord of Brahmanas. The evolutionary process is also explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19, where it is said that there are 2 types of living entities, moving and non-moving. Among moving entities, there are birds, beasts, aquatics, human beings, and so on. Of these, the human beings are supposed to be the best, but they are few. Of these small numbers of human beings, there are many low-class human beings, like Malechas, Pulindas, Baudhas, and Shabaras. The human being elevated enough to accept the Vedic principles is superior. Among those who accept the Vedic principles, generally known as Varnashram, presently known as the Hindu system, few actually follow these principles. Of those who actually follow the Vedic principles, most perform fruitive activity or pious activity for elevation to a high position. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Out of many attached to fruitive activity, one may be a jnani. That is, one philosophically inclined and superior to the karmis. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. Out of many jnanis, one may be liberated from material bondage. And out of many millions of liberated jnanis, one may become a devotee of Krishna. Yeah, quite a purport. Today we will discuss who is a Brahmana, how a Vaishnav is superior to a Brahmana, and the essential qualities of a Vaishnav. So this verse, it's a glorification of the Brahmanas. And despite the fact that Rishabhadev is a Kshatriya, he's pointing out to his sons that even a king needs to listen to the authority of the Brahmanas, according to the Varnashram system. He's saying, I, the Supreme Lord, worship the Brahmanas. What to speak of the duty of you human beings? Now, he's glorifying the Varnashram system because it was relevant to the time they lived. And it's interesting when we read Shastra, the word Brahmana can have different meanings. Sometimes it is referring to a devotee or a Vaishnav. Sometimes it's referring to a karma yoga Brahmana. But all Vaishnavas are Brahmanas. However, not all Brahmanas are Vaishnavas. And we should always recognize that Vaishnavas are always higher. And why is the Vaishnav the highest? Because a Vaishnav practices bhakti. And bhakti is the process which is dearest to the Lord, and it brings the Lord under control. And no other process does that. But before we discuss Vaishnavas further, let's just try to define a Brahmana. So what is a Brahmana? There are primary qualities and secondary qualities. The primary is one who knows Brahman. That's where the word is derived, Brahmana. One who knows Brahman. There are three aspects of the absolute truth, God. The Brahman, the impersonal energy of the Lord, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So one who knows one of those aspects is a Brahmana. Srila Prabhupada explained that we are all born Shudras. He said, Janmana Jayate Shudra. Everyone is born a Shudra. Even if your father is a Brahmana, you are a Shudra. But through samskara, by performing rituals, being sent to Gurukul, receiving initiation from the spiritual master, one is elevated to the platform of Dvija, twice born. Then from the platform of Dvija, through continued study of the Shastra under the spiritual master, eventually one reaches Brahman realization. So one may become a Brahmana, but one may not understand that the Supreme Lord is a person. As for secondary qualities, a Brahmana is supposed to be qualified with 12 qualities. We saw 8 of those qualities in one of these verses. In the Muktafalatika, it is said, mental equilibrium, sense control, austerity, cleanliness, tolerance, simplicity, detachment, theoretical and practical knowledge, satisfaction, truthfulness, and firm faith in the Vedas are the 12 qualities of a Brahmana. And these qualities are very pleasing to Krishna. Krishna loves the Brahmanas because they understand the goal of life. They understand the goal of life is not for enjoyment. The goal is self-realization, and they give that knowledge to others, and they completely depend on Krishna for their survival. And Krishna also appreciates these character qualities that they display. I was thinking about last year, I attended His Holiness Giriraj Swami's Vyasa Puja, and His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj made an offering. And he spoke about how when he knew Giriraj Swami from the beginning when he was a brahmachari. And he said that he was always humble, always gentle, and everybody loved him. And in 1970, Srila Prabhupada announced that he wanted to expand the Krishna consciousness movement in India in a very big way, and he chose devotees to go with him to India. One of them he chose was His Holiness Giriraj Swami. Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj reflected that Giriraj Swami was extremely useful to Prabhupada in India because he had gentle manners, kindness, he was humble, He was knowledgeable in the Shastras. And these were the qualities needed in India at that time to convince important people in India that our movement was producing real sadhus. Because Giriraj Swami was a real sadhu. The people of India, they immediately took to him. They trusted him because he had these Brahminical qualities on display that were so familiar to them. And Srila Prabhupada later stated, Giriraj can befriend any man, become his son, and take his money. Because when we meet someone with these qualities, what do we want to do? We want to serve them. They endear themselves to us. But realizing Brahman and developing Brahminical qualities, that's not the end. One has to understand the Supreme Lord and become a Vaishnav. And please don't misunderstand. His Holiness Giriraj Swami is very much a Vaishnav. But I was using that example of those Brahminical qualities. So then, after one becomes a Vaishnav, then Bahunam Jamanamante Jnanavamam Prapadyate. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. Our Krishna conscious movement, our process, it's like an elevator. We can worship demigods for 7 births, and then worship a higher demigod for 7 more births, and then worship a higher demigod for 7 more births. You can climb the stairs to self-realization. Or, anytime, you can step on the elevator and get elevated to the Vaishnav stage. Lord Chaitanya quoted this verse from Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.10. If a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications, but is not a devotee, and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life, to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana, because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana, in a position of false prestige, cannot even purify himself. Higher than the Brahmana is the Vaishnav. So then who is a Vaishnav? We tend to define Vaishnav in a very general way. Oh, Vaishnav, one who worships Vishnu, so I'm a Vaishnav. My spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Swami, said something that really made me think. He said, have you ever thought what it actually means to put Das or Devi Dasi after your name? He said, we take it for granted. And if we would only contemplate what that means, what Srila Prabhupada was trying to give us. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur explains the highest and rarest position in all of creation is to be Das, servant of Krishna. Who is a servant of Krishna? One who has no desires for any material acquisition, one who has transcended the desire for liberation, one who has given heart and soul in the service of the Lord, willing to sacrifice anything. That is really Das. Real humility, he said, is thinking, Guru Maharaj has given me such a title. It may take me millions of lifetimes to earn the title of Krishna Das or Krishna Devi Dasi. So what should we be striving for? We should be striving to develop qualities that are pleasing to Krishna, because that's the only goal of a devotee. It's the only purpose of our life. And what pleases Krishna most? He's very clear on that. It's love. It's pure devotion. So then we have to think, well, then what are the qualities of those who have pure devotion? This is what, how do they live? How do they speak? And this is what Arjuna asked Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. The lives of the Vaishnavas reveal to us what we should strive to be. My spiritual master, he gave classes, 4 different classes on the 4 essential qualities of a Vaishnav. And he spent over an hour on each quality. I have very less time, and certainly far less realization, but I will share with you some things I learned from him. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the first quality needed in order to become a Vaishnav is simplicity. And Srila Prabhupada in various times defines simplicity in different ways. One definition of simplicity is one without duplicity. No politics, no hidden agenda. In material politics means in order to achieve my personal ambition, I'm willing to say anything, do anything, align with anyone just to get what I want. So you can't trust a politician. So Srila Prabhupada says that without duplicity means you desire the welfare of everyone. And Srila Prabhupada also defines simplicity as the sincere acceptance of the Lord's order, to simply accept what comes from Guru and Scripture. Doubt is due to duplicity and complexity. He gave the example of Kunti Devi. She wasn't a great tapasi. She was a woman. She was a mother. However, she had such faith in the word of Krishna, in his shelter, that even the greatest philosophers, the greatest tapasis, the greatest paramahamsas want to hear her words because they are spoken with such truth and simplicity. Kunti Devi had such natural faith. Srila Prabhupada said that she didn't go out and change the world by preaching abilities, but she had such simple faith and love. Srila Prabhupada famously said our lifestyle should be simple living, high thinking. And he said a Vaishnava is one who, if they're living in a palace, but they can better serve Krishna by living under a tree, then he has no attachment to his palace and will live under the tree. And if he's living under a tree and can better serve by living in a palace, then he will leave the tree and live in a palace. The only attachment of the Vaishnava is to Krishna. That last quote, it reminds me so much of my spiritual master. I think if he'd had his way, he would still be in Vrindavan, living by the Yamuna. But he knew that to best serve Krishna, he needed to preach and leave. And the next essential quality of a Vaishnava is titikshava, forbearance or tolerance. Prabhupada said so many inconveniences will come before us. Heat, cold, happiness, distress. Whatever comes your way, you don't let it interfere with your devotional service. And who is a better example of that than Srila Prabhupada? How much he tolerated living at Sally Agarwal's house, a first-class Brahmin from Vrindavan, sharing a refrigerator with meat, fish, and eggs. Later living on the Bowery among addicts, his life threatened, his typewriter stolen. No proper clothes for his first ever real winter. But he tolerated. And then later he got Western disciples who quite literally didn't know their left hand from their right hand, and how much he tolerated them. Another thing the great Vaishnavas show us is that a critical part of tolerance is forgiveness. A perfect example is Srila Haridas Thakur, who was beaten in 22 marketplaces on the order of a Muslim ruler who was angered by his public chanting of Hare Krishna. But despite the severe beatings, Srila Haridas Thakur remained absorbed in chanting, and he prayed for his persecutors, asking the Lord to forgive them and bless them with love for God. And this is Vaishnav, willing to be able to tolerate and forgive in the service of Guru and Gauranga. Another quality of Vaishnav essential quality is control of the senses. Bhagavad Gita explains that the desire for sense gratification, the desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, is what keeps us in the cycle of birth and death. And so Prabhupada taught us that the formula is to not deny the senses, but to engage them in Krishna's service. And that's why we have our regulative principles. Of course, Srila Haridas Thakur again perfectly exemplifies this. Even when Maya herself came to seduce him, to tempt him to enjoy, he couldn't be distracted. He said, just wait, let me finish my rounds. And then he chanted for 3 days. And the last essential quality of a Vaishnava is humility. As a devotee is by nature humble, they never desire to take a high position. And in its truest sense, my spiritual master says, humility means to be free from the influence of false ego. I am the proprietor, I am the controller, versus I am the servant, and I have no desire other than to serve. Another definition of humility is to not be anxious to be honored by others. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur emphasized, more than anything else, Trinadapi Sunichena Torori Vasihishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that this verse is the Siddha Pranali mantra of the Gaudiya Math, and that by applying it to our lives, our eternal relationship with Krishna will be revealed. I would like to end by discussing someone who perfectly displays these essential qualities. Have any of you read The Journey Home by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj? Then you'll recognize who I'm talking about. I first read that book about 10 years ago, and then I reread it a few months ago in the spring with my daughter Raseshvari, and it had such a profound impact on me. In the book, in this part of the book, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj is living in Vrindavan, and he meets and he befriends an elderly Vrajbasi named Ganesham Baba. And Ganesham is very poor. He's very old. He's in his 70s. He's thin. He wears worn-out clothes. But he is the happiest man Radhanath Swami has ever met in his life. And he lives to serve his deities, Sri Sri Radha Gopi Janavalabha. Radhanath Swami learns in the book that Ganesham for many years wanted to have his own deities, but he couldn't afford to buy any. So every day, Ganesham Baba would go outside and he would write the name Sri Radha in the dirt. And then he would worship Radha's name, offering petals, singing, praying. When the puja was over, he would take his hand and he would wipe away the name of Radha. One day after the puja, he was wiping away Radha's name and he saw something golden, shiny in the dirt. He began digging and he pulled out of the ground a brass deity of Srimati Radharani. She manifested herself in reciprocation of this Brajbasi's simple faith. He had such simple faith that Radha was non-different from her name. He had such pure devotion. And standing beside Radha was a black deity of Krishna. Every day when Radhanath Swami visited, Ganesham Baba would insist that Radhanath Swami eat prasadam, and he would give him 3 rotis. One day, Radhanath Maharaj was out bathing, and another sadhu chastised him. He said, "Hey, you, because of you, Ganesham Baba is starving." Maharaj didn't understand. He said, "What do you mean?" The other sadhu said, "A Vrajbasi brings Ganesham 3 rotis each day. That is his only food. You are so selfish." And Maharaj was devastated to hear this. So the next time he visited Ganesham, he refused the prasadam, saying, "Ganesham Baba, I know that I'm eating all of your rotis. I can get rotis anywhere, but you never leave here. This is your only food." And Ganesham replied, "Oh no, I have so many rotis. You have these. Please, please enjoy." And Maharaj said, "If you have so many rotis, Ganesham, then show me." Ganesham said, "Oh, they're in the next room." Maharaj searched the next room, and of course there were no rotis. He said, "Ganesham, there are no rotis here. Please, you've been starving because of me. Please eat these rotis." Ganesham's eyes filled with tears, and he said, "You are Gopi Janavalabha's friend, but I am only the servant of his servants. My only happiness in life is serving devotees. I beg you, please enjoy these rotis. Please do not deprive me of the single thing I live for." And just one more pastime. Once on a cold winter night, Ganesham insisted that Radhanath Swami sleep in his house rather than out on the banks of the Yamuna. He had just one blanket, which was a bit threadbare, but he insisted Radhanath Swami take it, and of course Radhanath Maharaj refused. He said, "You're an old man, Ganesham. I'm young. I can handle it. I'm 20 years old. My body can handle this. And Ganesham said, no, no need. Here, you take. And they argued for a while, and finally Radhanath Swami said, if you don't take this blanket, Ganesham Baba, I am leaving and I'm sleeping by the Yamuna. So Ganesham Baba agreed. He said, all right, I'll use the blanket. But in the middle of the night, Radhanath Maharaj was feeling so cozy, and he thought, this is weird. And he opened his eyes, and the blanket was covering him. And he looked over at Ganesham Baba, and he said Ganesham Baba was shivering violently. And so he tried to cover Ganesham Baba with the blanket, and he said, no need. And when I read these pastimes out loud with my daughter, I cried. And Gokulananda Prabhu was sitting and listening, and he shook his head, and he said, we call ourselves Vaishnavas. This is a Vaishnav. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Haribol. I know I went a little over time, I apologize, but we still have some time for discussion. So I'd love to hear your realizations. Could someone give the microphone to Mother Kunti?
There. Thank you very much, Manjari Gopi. Very, very enlivening. Qualities of a Vaishnava. You were listing simplicity, avoiding duplicity, gave some examples.
Mm-hmm.
Avoiding opulent living. Was that the next one?
It was simplicity, humility, and sense control.
Sense control. Okay.
And what was the last one? Yes, thank
And
you. Tolerance. Yeah.
Titiksha.
Move them out of order. Yeah, Titiksha.
So the question is, you gave an example of His Holiness Giriraj Swami.
Yes.
Would you please elaborate on that example? Because it
Went
went
over
right
your
over
head.
my head. So.
Well, I was thinking about how one is a Brahmana, not by birth. It's one who knows Brahman and one who has these Brahmanical qualities. And I was thinking about how when Giriraj Swami first joined the movement, at 23 years old, His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj said, even at 23, brand new to the movement, he was gentle, he was humble, he had absolute loyalty to Srila Prabhupada. He had these intrinsic Brahminical qualities. So when Prabhupada took his dancing white elephants to India, I was saying, I was quoting him, that His Holiness Giriraj Swami had such an immediate impact because of these qualities. Prabhupada wanted to show that these are not malechas. Look, I have brahmanas, I have sadhus. And Giriraj Swami was the perfect example of that. So I was just thinking about how these Brahminical qualities, they endear one to Krishna. Krishna loves people who have these character qualities. And also, we're attracted to those people that are in Sattva Gun. So I was just thinking about how Krishna loves those qualities, but also we can see how regular people are attracted to it. But of course, His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj is a Vaishnav. You're welcome. Hare Krishna.
So I guess due to my ignorance, I always thought of Brahma and Shiva. Shiva was superior. But here in this purport, this translation, he's clearly stating, because he's my son, Brahma is considered superior because Shiva is his son. So is that everybody's understanding? Not everybody, but my question was that for some reason, my ignorance, I thought Shiva is superior to Brahma. But here, in the purport, in the translation, is since Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma, Brahma is considered superior. Yeah. I was just thinking why.
Hi, Krishna. Can I?
What's that?
Can I?
Yeah,
I might
please.
be. Prabhupada Priya can correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding, Shiva has there's different forms of Shiva. There's the eternal Shiva that's not never born. You know, he's from the spiritual world. He's a pure Vaishnava. He guards Vrindavan. You know, so this Shiva, of course, is superior to the temporary personality who's filling the post of Brahma. But perhaps the different expansions of Shiva, you know, the different Rudras, maybe these are inferior to Brahma. What do you think, Prabhupada Priya? Yeah, okay.
It was kind of in this purport to, or this translation too, is explaining by bodily designation too. You go through it and it's really like, you know, here's the Gandharvas that are superior, this. It's really going through a systematic way of bodily designation on who's superior. And when we start to talk about devotees and stuff, it all gets jumbled up, right? Or Shiva all of a sudden takes the top, and Vaishnavas are even, you know, even if one of the Gandharvas is a Vaishnav, they become higher than everybody else too, you know. So that was one of my thoughts.
Just on that point, because Lord Shiva, he's in a separate tattva. He's in Shiva tattva, and Lord Brahma is Jiva tattva. So we are Jiva tattva, so we could take the position of Lord Brahma by, you know, elevation and pious activities and devotion to the Lord, but we can never have the position of Lord Shiva because it's a totally different category of being, which we're never going to have. So Lord Shiva's in his in tattva, he's always superior. But here we're just talking about, like Nanda Braja said, the bodily relationship. And also true that Lord Shiva has different forms of himself, some of which are fully manifested and some of which are partially manifested. Yeah, Jiva Tattva is like us. It's just us. Yeah. Shiva, it's complicated, but the basic tattvas are Vishnu tattva, which is all the supreme personality of Godhead category. And then there's Shiva tattva, which is, he's considered to be like almost the Lord, but not exactly, because it probably compares it to milk and yogurt. That yogurt is nothing but milk, but it's different than milk. And then jivas are, little tiny sparks.
I read just the other day, perhaps Gokul Prabhu, you can affirm that Krishna has 64 qualities. Like there are 64 specific qualities of Krishna, and that Lord Shiva has 50 of them. So in that way, that helped me understand better how he's 55, yeah.
So my question was that whenever it said that human beings is superior to animals, it said that only few human beings are actually devoted to Krishna, and some of them are jnanis, and only few of them go back to Krishna. So I didn't understand that part.
Sure. Yeah, well, this is definitely stated in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada's quoting some verses from Bhagavad Gita. So some human beings act as they should, right, is what Prabhupada's saying. Some human beings act according to Vedic principles. Most in this day and age do not. Most kind of live on an animal platform of sense gratification and no living for a higher purpose. But those who live for a higher purpose and follow the Vedic principles, most of them, Srila Prabhupada is saying, in this day, are not doing it to know God. They're doing it, right, to be pious, to know if I do good things and I live according to these laws, then, I'll have a good reputation and I'll have a nice house and I know I'm not offending anyone, but they're not working to know Krishna. So then out of many of those who are working in that way, one of them may be a jnani. He says one may be philosophically inclined and thus superior to the karmis. Because karmis can still live according to morals and Vedic principles, but do it for a reason of getting something in return. But out of all of those, one may be philosophically inclined. One may actually want to understand, why am I doing this? Where does this tradition come from? How can I elevate further? And then out of the many jnanis, one of them may be liberated, because it's so hard to get liberated from that stage. And then, of course, out of many millions of liberated jnanis, then one becomes a devotee of Krishna. They are very, very rare. Did that help at all? Thank you. Yes, that was a very intelligent question. How old are you? 11. When are you going to give Bhagavatam class? Any other thoughts, questions, comments, reflections? Mother Kunti has a whole transcendental schedule today. It's good to have you back, Mother Kunti. Helps with you. All right then. There's nothing else. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Bala Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Bala Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Bala Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,